Hello. Now, in this video, I'm going to talk about debugging because a lot of times people probably get introduced to coding through vibe coding, and sometimes you are going to get a script generated out of ChatGPT. And once you take that script, you run it, and it doesn't work as expected. So, what do you do to take on like tackling that problem in terms of what is your code doing and how do you fix it? And I would say like this is actually really intuitive for someone who took a programming language. So if you take a class like that, the first thing you start off is hello world. So that's just not an intuitive thing. You just print to the console. Now I can give you a show of what that means. So I've created a script with a little bit of help of Klein where we have this essentially a popular computer program where we develop the Fibonacci numbers. So it's not important to know this for the purposes of this exercise, but it's kind of to give you insight. So I need to develop a Fibonacci sequence. And you can see I already have like some results based off of what client was running. And we can see that essentially what we need right here is just to print. So I printed out the results of what happens within the Fibonacci sequence. So we are inputting this 1000 value, and then we can see the Fibonacci numbers up until the maximum value being less than 1000. Now, if you want to go one step further from this, because this is probably what you do when you grab a script from AI, and in this case, I got client to develop this beautiful script for me to use. Now, what if I need to know what's going on inside? You might have a guess of where you know the problem to be, so I'll just pull up a line where that is the case. So in here, maybe I want to see what is a sequence is appending. So AB is where we're starting with, and then I want to know within the while sequence whether I need to add or these values of A and B. So over here, I'll just update this. So I'll just print A, comma, B. And that's it. Sometimes you're going to want to give an indicator of what you're actually printing out. So if I just print a variable, I would have no idea what I'm looking at. So if you have a lot of things, just say like make a string that kind of indicates what this is. So A and B values. Okay, now if I just ran the value of print Fibonacci's, now I know through each iteration we can see where the program is going. So when we go through the first while loop, I'll know that A and B values started at 1 and 1. And then I can see the next iteration is 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 5, 5, 8. And this way I know what's going on. So even if we have this printed result, I can see what each increment is doing in the middles. Now, kind of like a next level from this is something called a debugger. So it's kind of the same thing. So this is just a matter of like familiarizing yourself with the tools. If you have the insight that you just need to get certain information at a line, yeah, sometimes just writing to console helps. But in the case of a debugger, that is kind of the next step because you don't have to like recompile your code and rerun everything. You just have to put a breakpoint here. So this is what it looks like. And you don't really have to have insight into what is going wrong. So you can kind of step through things and get an idea of what's going on. So what if I do start debugging here? Okay, so I skipped over the arguments that we add and essentially just went into the file. So this is a lot easier for me. So once we get to the breakpoint, actually, I can see the values of all these variables. So I know the max number is 1000, A is 0, B is 1, sequence is 0, 1. So once you have them inside like this, you can also even see when you step through like what's happening. So this is the next iteration. And I keep on going, I see a B is incremented 2. So you can keep on going until you see something that's interesting, and you can stop there and pause through it. You can even step in and outside of functions because you're grabbing functions for different files. So this is really helpful in kind of digging through the code everywhere, and you don't necessarily need to know exactly how things are. So this is like the best tool of a trade for this. One great advantage of this is that you don't even have to do this on a local workspace. So a lot of times, some services, they have open endpoints that you can connect your debugger to, and you can even be debugging things out in the cloud, out on a server somewhere. So that's where it's really powerful. But I would say that this is conceptually like the last resort where you want to attach a debugger to things. Ultimately, you're going to want to be able to add telemetry to your service so you know where to look at initially for like the problem. So a lot of times if you are seeing like a problem that may come out here, you may just want to do the print statement that I showed earlier. And now the print statement will be a little bit more advanced. So you know how I said like a plus b values, and then I'll do like a and b. So this is kind of what I will show as an example of a log. And in this case, we are saying that this is something that we might need to look at later. So whenever we have a customer report or we see a problem, this might be something we come back to see, is my service running correctly? Now, this is kind of a simple situation. A lot of times that you'll do this is for customer um, values that may be kind of variable in a sense. So conceptually, instead of printing, you're going to have this on some kind of logging service, and you can even put metrics in certain spots. So you have like different values of maybe you want to see examples of what max numbers people are putting in. And using this, you can quickly take a look at what is the problem of a situation without even setting up a debugger or going back and adding all these print lines. So that's kind of like a things that I will look at in terms of grabbing telemetry from a service. So in this case, you kind of learned how to you can debug when developing. So, simply you can do a print statement or a debugger. And when things are in production, you're going to have already set up these things where you'll see logs and you'll see metrics, and people will be able to look back on what the problem is in the service without adding all these to-dos. And if like you're really in a tough spot and you don't know what's happening, then you can always have your endpoint open for attaching debugger, or you can, set things up as a new build with extra telemetry to see what's going on. So with these tools in your tool belt, you're going to be able to make a service, push it out to production, and be able to debug whatever's going wrong with the service, which is really key to being a software developer. So thanks for watching this portion of Debugging with Ben.